Welcome, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Just see if we get people in.
I've made six figures with Kajabi.
Just going to see if people are coming in. I'm still getting used to the YouTube live setups. Let's see. If you are watching, please do leave a message in the chat and where you're watching in from today. Got a really good one today. Really good. Here we go. Hi, Deborah. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Love the comments and love the shares. Seems like you're on a little wave at the moment. Hello, Nikki. Good to have you here from Wirral. Nice, nice. So today's talk is called The Way to Love, Guided by the Soul. And everything that I've been learning, I've been understanding, and now kind of as I take into my day-to-day, how I've been living life. And as a soul coach, my whole focus is try to simplify everything. It's to strip back everything that we have been told and to get a first-hand experience and get a feel for myself, like what is life and how can I live it to the best that I possibly can? And how can I experience what life has to present to me? And I look back at a lot of different things I've been doing over the last few years, and I question, like, how did I not see this sort of stuff earlier? How was it not shown? Like some of the things are so simple, yet it takes time to even comprehend it, to then start experiencing it, and then it's like, oh, this is the taste of life. Lovely, Jen, good to see you. Hi, Cherry, happy to hear this one. Good to have you on. Hi, Amanda. Got the Harry fan club here. So for people that do watch the recording after, I've got the pleasure of experiencing people go on their own journeys through the meditations and also the Soul Revive programs. And the best thing for me about all of this is when someone else shares their truth. And their truth, like you'll see on their journey, the words that are used to describe their feelings, it's magical. And it's so exciting to be able to read words and feel them, because words are just words, and they say words are empty. When you start reading them with an understanding exactly what they're going through, and it's exciting because for me, I'm literally just stepping into this. I'm going to call it a realm, like it's a different reality compared to me looking back at my life. But that's only recently, just getting my toes wet. And the excitement for me is every day I'm learning now. Every day I'm starting to see, well, there's so much more to life than what we've been ever told. And all of this is by my own choices. So reading through comments, and I do encourage people, if you watch this at the end, please leave a comment, like what come up for you. If you do the meditations, your feedback is so crucial. And also people reading someone else's experience gives them that little bit of, well, gives them a jolt to go, right, I'm going to take some time out for myself now. Lee says, who's in bed with us tonight, Harry or Trump? Yeah, when you start finding, and this is another thing, when it comes to teaching, really, if you were to close your eyes, it still rings true. It's regardless who's delivering that message. Because if it is done from a place of love, and that is the whole thing tonight, if it's done from truth, if it's done from your soul, it's an energy that exchanged and you take it on. And that way, then you can go beyond, I don't like that person. I don't like him because he believes this, or he said that, or he did this. If you see the bigger picture, like what is all this is about, it's to make the world a better place. It's for me to go and have my own experience and live it to the fullest. And then that means anyone that I cross paths with, because I'm on path, anyone that comes on my path, I'm like, come with me. This is amazing. Like, it's great to meet some more people along the way. So yeah, it's nice to see the comments. So my question, first of all, and it's just a powerful question, the word love, if you was to describe, like, what is love in a sentence or two, like, what is love? And if we was to look at this human experience, like, we've all come into this world, we're all here now. And there's a number of you on this call, you're sharing the space with me. So we're all here and we've all got our own journeys. We've all had our own stories. Like, what is it that you want out of life? And if you was to describe that in a word, what would that be? So I'm pretty sure everyone would choose this word, love. And that word love then is like, how would you describe it? Like, if that's what you would choose, what is that? Like, what does it look like? What is it like every single day being in that space? Can you even put that into images, let alone words? If you're given a pen, right, there you go, right. Tell me everything. What is it? We struggle because our conception and our understanding of what love truly is, it cannot be put into words. Love is pure peace. Yeah, I love that. And you'll see that love has so many different descriptions. Love has loads of different interpretations, and we've all had our own experiences of love throughout our lifetime. And again, if you try to compare all the different experience and tastes of love, all of them are unique. Ultimate acceptance, love that. Yeah, that's a word that come up today as well. It's acceptance. And for those that follow my work now, I'm on a spiritual journey. I'm a soul coach. However, the last year now, my interest in the biblical text, because I have been anti-religion, I'm anti-conflict, I'm good at them, but I'm not a fan of getting into debates. And that always seems to come when it comes to biblical texts. And it's always the go-to if someone doesn't want to look into something outside of themselves. If it's a topic, especially on spirituality or energy healing, no. In the Bible, it says we're not allowed to, and it's always like that's their cover and that's where they go to. And it was very hard for me to enter discussions because it's not about being right. It's about showing that there's multiple ways to the truth. So without an understanding, I didn't really have much at all, just a reluctance to go there. How can I share my truth with them? So I've been really interested in biblical texts, and there's let's call it a mainstream narrative, or it's a worldwide accepted, this is Christianity. This is the religious faith. This is Jesus Christ. And then there's all these different meanings and messages. And my experience firsthand going to churches for the first time first time last year, and getting to see, okay, this is church. That doesn't really make sense because that guy has no energy. That guy is dull, is lifeless, he's soulless. And that it cannot be a full truth just from my experience. Then the words that he's saying doesn't match the way that he delivers it. So I soon realized that truth is always there. It's the way it's delivered. It's the way it's passed on by a messenger, because truth just runs through you. You can't hold on to it. Truth is ever flowing. God is flowing. So it helped me get a better understanding of it, but also on your spiritual journey, you have to find the truth for yourself. And it makes you realize how often we hold on to stories passed down from others, like Chinese whispers, a few word changes here or there, a few translations. You've also got different interpretations with the stories, and then there's extended parts of this is what it really meant, and we're going to do a whole, and all of a sudden you can see the message is never the same throughout. It's never constant. However, if we simplify it back to the experience first, how can we put that into words? And you just use the words pure peace. Such a simple phrase. And we seem to chase all these other words, but pure peace is bliss. That is love. So my focus today was to become more of a sharer. I don't call myself a healer. I call myself a sharer. I share information. And I realized that I am in flow when I deliver certain messages. And I know when I watch them back, that's God speaking through me. Because sometimes I'm just caught in awe, like, whoa. And I'm learning and still learning. And you can get used to being or hearing the message from one messenger. So Jesus Christ, which is the only way for a lot of people, the Savior, and what Jesus said was the truth. And I agree with what Jesus said was the truth if he spoke it from his heart, which everything suggests that he did. The character Jesus, but it's not the only way. He showed us the way, a way. And he was a messenger. He inspired millions or billions around the world and continue to does so. And what I'm starting to see is there's other people that have been sharing messages to us. God speaks to us in many ways. So we doubt God if we're only relying on words. You can simplify it back. God speaks to us through feelings. God speaks to us through music and stimulates our senses to have this human experience. Then on top of that, God speaks to us through words. God speaks to us through animals. God speaks to us through nature. So there's always different versions of speaking to us. So the languages that we speak, obviously there's multiple from around the world, from multiple cultures that have their own experiences, have their own secrets, have their own ways of doing things. And if you was to then look at, are they living a healthy, happy life? Are they at one and at peace? You say yes. So you can't dismiss any of these things. So tonight I'm going to share a number of, I guess, my favorite teachers and from favorite books as well, to show you that the truth is very simple, especially if we bring it back to the two words only used by the soul. The language of the soul comes down to two words, which then falls down into one of my teachings, simplify life down to a choice. At the soul, it's love, and the opposite of that is fear. That's how simple it is. And this journey to find God, to accept God into your lives, to understand God, to look out for God, to wait for God. God was another barrier for so many people. Like, I still see people that say they don't believe in God, or they doubt, they question. The more you start experiencing this, there's only one acceptance to that. But God is not the way that we described it, and God cannot be described into words. And I feel if you tried putting God into words, love would be a lot easier one to accept. But God is love. So tonight, I really want to be able to set placement for you guys to watch this, knowing that every time we speak about love, that's God. And what I'm going to also then show is from the teachings, from the stuff that I love learning from, we'll then go on to biblical texts, because I shared in one of my other breakdowns, we are God. It even says it in the Bible. We are Christ. It even says it in the Bible. And there's a resistance there. So let's dig a bit deeper. Let's go beyond God. Let's go to love. Because it definitely tells us we are love. It definitely tells us we are peace, we are joy. We have God within us. So we're going to use biblical scripture again today just to back up everything we're saying. And the one thing I ask is religious, spiritual, atheist, whatever label you have, evil, good, bad, whatever. Watch how everything just flows together. And you're going to see again, God is within us. The more we can start accepting that, you'll see God every day, every second, at every time. And when you really need him most, you ask. And then something happens for you. It's the letting go, it's the acceptance that we had mentioned earlier. That all of that is God, but it's simple. We all feel down in the dumps and there's so much bad going on in the world, yet in the world is not inside you. And if you say there's so much going on in the world, all of that comes from within you. So if we can find God easily, which it is because he's there waiting for us, and we accept him into our life, watch how life changes. And a number of people watching, hi Carol, a number of people watching, you'll see that there's too many words to describe God and love. At the core of it is so simple. And then after that, we can give it all the descriptions we want to. But don't chase the description. Be the feeling, experiencing it. So I'm going to start off with words. And it's from Anthony De Mello, which is one of my favorite teachers, a Jesuit, I might add. And he passed away in the 90s, and I just listened to him all the time. He's got such a sense of humor, the way that he delivers his words. And again, I ask you, and I encourage also, maybe close your eyes when you listen to these, because all it is truth ringing straight through you. And words is from the mind. So if we look at our three-part being, the spiritual being, and you've got the body, your mind, and your soul. The body and the mind is the human experience. The soul is the spiritual being that we are. And then to get in alignment, align with the mind, you line up the body, which I call God, and the Son, which is the Son of God. And the mind is the mediator. It's the middleman. It gives meaning. It provides messengers. So if we use that analogy, and like I said, I'm sharing more today, but you're going to see where my teachings come from. And Anthony De Mello is a master for soul slaps. Soul slaps is where a truth hits you so much. You can try to argue with it, but there's nothing you can say. It just hits you, and it puts you into, what would I call it? It'd humble you on certain things. And I guarantee just by those words, as you enter your day next, they stay with you. A lot of people say about some of the teachings, they just hear Harry in their ear when something happens now. Your past doesn't define you. Things like that. Remember their truth. And the beauty of all this, truth is timeless. So the moment we start accepting God into our lives, which is accepting ourselves, at this moment, you're watching this. If I was to ask you to just pay attention to the feelings inside your body right now. And if we spoke the two words of the soul, love or fear, if I was to ask you, how are you feeling right now? I'm pretty convinced that feeling, if you was to have a choice, it'd be love. So right now you're with God. That's how simple it is, because right now, if you're in that love space, your body feels calm. What takes place then? Healing, just love inside your body. If your body is in calm right now, which I know it is because we're sharing the energy space, that means your mind has to be still too. Calming, stillness, a quiet mind. What does that bring? Clarity. When you're now listening, you're hooked and listening to the words, you're taking it in, you're feeling it. That's the truth. So you're in God right now. And the more you keep accepting that and knowing, look, in this moment, I am retaining this information. This does have relevance on me. I am feeling this. Actually, I'm aware of that. Oh, that triggered a memory. That sparked a previous moment. God. And that's why I get excited now. I can know that I'm in my God space. Calm and peace. I have to justify I'm in my God space. I'm in this euphoric, buzzing moment, and I've got this massive smile on my face always. That's a definition of love. That's the definition of God. However, God is still at that beautiful spot of silence and stillness. So let me share the screen. So we'll start with, and the first part of this talk is on words. And I really just want you to notice how we are so attached to words. So when I say the Bible can never be the full truth, that's not a good looking photo on that. When I say the Bible can never be the full truth, it's because they're words. For those words to be written, something had to take place first. There was an experience that provided feelings. And it's like, whoa, what was that? Let me communicate these feelings. Let me communicate my experience. What happened? Well, I can write down what happened. I can think what happens. I can speak what happens. The words always come after, always. So when people get caught up on words, it's not the full truth. So your words become the truth when you speak them. And if we're unaware of the way that we speak or the way that we turn up, you'll see that a lot of time we speak, which puts suffering on us. So let's go to Mr. Anthony De Mello.
By telling you one of my favorite stories, the story of the camel. There was this camel owner that was traveling across the desert and pitched tent for the night. And the slaves came in to report that they had 20 camels and only 19 pegs to tie them to. What do they do? So the master said to them, you know, these camels are stupid creatures. Just go through the motions of driving a peg in the ground and tying this last camel to it, and it will stay put for the whole night, which is exactly what happened. The next morning, when they lifted tent and were moving on, the slaves came to report that this camel wouldn't budge. Ah, said the master, you probably forgot to go through the motions of untying him. So they untied him, and the stupid animal went ahead, went with the others. How like human beings, who are so thrilled by things that are not real, illusory, and are so terrified by things which are illusory: success, failure, criticism, the good opinion of others, as I explained to you in our last program. The other day, I was traveling from the US to Canada. As we crossed the Canadian border, or the US frontier, the pilot said, well, we're at the US border right now. You look down through the window, it's funny, you can't see it, you know. Have you realized that that only exists in your mind, that in nature there is no border? That being an American is only in your head? That there are no American trees or American mountains? This is a convention that people are ready to die for. That's how real it looks to them. Has it ever struck you that Christmas Day doesn't exist except in your mind? In nature, there's no Christmas Day, but you got Christmassy feelings. Or there's no New Year's Day, and there's no illegitimate child. Tell someone he or she is an illegitimate child. Turmoil. But in nature, there is no illegitimate child. Illegitimacy is a human convention. Tell a kid that he or she is adopted, and you run into trouble sometimes. It is in the head. There are cultures where almost everyone is adopted, so nobody bothers. We're reacting to words. We're reacting to ideas in our head. We live on ideas. We feed on them, on words, words, words. Reminded of the guy, the farmer, who was living on the Russian border, the Finnish-Russian border. They were drawing up the frontier, and he had to make up his mind whether he wanted his farm to be in Finland or in Russia. He chose Finland. The Russian officials descended upon him and demanded to know why he didn't want to be in Russia. And he said, look, all my life, I have always wanted to live in Mother Russia. But you know, at this age, I simply wouldn't be able to take another Russian winter. Or your Mark Twain, who says, cold. If the thermometer had been half an inch longer, we would have frozen to death. In this program,
so, good evening. So that was Anthony De Mello. Did you hear that okay? So just showing that words can never be the full truth. And he uses loads of analogies that I love sharing too. And he says that if you was to try to explain the color green to a blind person, how would you put that into words? similar to the story that he shared then, but he said, if I was making my way through South America and I was walking and there was a sign that said Colombia 50 miles away, how would you know that you're in Colombia? There's words, they're pointing you to the truth. So if we can take the analogies of your words and then see how people defend words with all their life, all of a sudden you can start seeing that we're caught up in the mind. These are stories, these are ideas, these are other people's experiences. Then if we look at God and truth and creation, that's come from somewhere. Something's ignited, some inspiration for someone to be able to create in some way. And what happens is that creation, then everyone else latches onto it and tries to edit it or adjust it or own it. It's like we run to where the information is being shared to, but we're unable then to use that as our inspiration to find our truth, to go with the flow of it. Because there's certain things, especially on the stuff that I'm sharing with you today, it is so true. And I use that, and you can use that in countless examples of many areas of our life. And again, simplify life down to a choice. The soul or God, and the opposite of that is the ego, edging God out. So if we looked at simplify life down to feelings, because if I was to try to describe God, there's still a concept that man's created to try to explain this power, this source, this divinity. So it's like, right, God. Before that, though, the experience and the feelings come. And my whole focus now is to share the way that I've simplified life down. So when it comes to the soul, ego, underneath that, the feelings. If God is love, and if we was to all agree that love is the highest feeling, that if we seek a feeling and experience in this world that we live in, it'd be love, which would be the ultimate. So if I can't understand God and I can't put God into words, and all the different stories I've heard, it feels a bit limited for those that have done plant medicine. And you've had these experiences that you've not seen with your human eyes before. Some of the colors that come up for you, some of the shapes, is too impossible to put into words. However, if you zoomed out and that's God, and you just got a glimpse of what God truly is, then you can start getting the concept of this. So rather than trying to find all the words to describe things that we physically can't, let's go to the feeling instead. Love, and the opposite of love is fear. So God created this world and gave us duality. So he had to create the absence of God. He had to create the opposite of love. For us to find God, to find love, we have to lose it all. We have to get shocked. We have to go through all these emotions and feelings. We have to learn the hard way. And then from that, we make the choices going forward. So all these things, all the negative stuff, and I'm getting a lot more soul slaps myself, like the people that are coming into my life, their past is their past. And one of my teachings is it doesn't define you. Yet if I'm holding on to what they've done in their past and you're not on the right team and you're not, I'm doing exactly the same. My realization for all this is I'm on my path. And I've realized as people come, I'm not resonating, I'm not on their team. Without these people, I wouldn't have found God. Without all the evil, I wouldn't have found God. Without all my struggles and my challenges, I wouldn't have found where I am now. So how can I have any hate or anything for people? So I realized if people come in my path and they keep coming back, I'm like, you're not on my path, and they keep coming back, then there's only one way for me. But once it's gone and it's settled, I can take that and I can look back, whoa, that was God's plan. And I'm going to come on to that as well, because it's more and more, I'm really working on it now. And I realize people want a reaction from me for certain things. And from these teachings, I realize that they don't want you to get there because they haven't got that yet. They haven't been there. They don't know what a smile is. They don't get that love, warm feeling, or they're holding on to an identity which is not true. They're fighting against what is the truth, reality, flow, love, God. You're fighting against the ultimate. And when we come back to peace, when we come back to acceptance, when we come back to calmness, does that equate to the word fighting? Struggle? Not at all. So love or fear? So if we go to the opposite first, I can never tell you the full truth, but I can point out things that I know are not a truth instantly. So I realized as well, I speak positive. A lot of my work, all my stuff, my words that I choose to speak, I speak positive. However, if we looked at positive as God, and sometimes, unless you've had the experience, the words don't do it justice. So I'm talking about the soul and talking about being one with your spirit and alignment. That's all gibberish for someone that's not there yet. So you have to speak the duality to get the understanding. That's where we go to the ego. So the beautiful thing then with love, I don't know what love is. I've never found love, or I had love and I've lost it, all these things. Let's talk about what isn't love. So if we go opposite of love is fear. So when I'm engaging with people now, and again, that word debates, I never even enter the debate if they come from a place of fear, which is anything that's opposite of the truth, love. Under fear, then it's simple. What words would you attach to fear? Straight away, if you're getting angry, that's not love. If you're getting triggered, if you're getting emotional, if you're getting frustrated, if you're getting overworked, uptight, all of those are the opposite to love. So instantly, they're not in their truth. So what's the point of me going into that world when the feelings all of a sudden are not matching with me? How can I deliver truth if my environment is all distorted? So a beautiful thing then is instantly you can let go. You can hold, wait, when you're ready, we can talk. And you can know deep down, you didn't need to chase that. Or you run away, you're a coward, you're this, you're that. They're words too. Deep down, I know my knowing. You're not there yet. I don't need to even give you a educational lecture, but you will come round. So that's a beautiful thing now, is that I see that, and you can see in everywhere. Like I even watch in the gym, I go into shops and I see how people engage with people. When their body language is like that and they're yawning and they're looking around, is that love? It's the opposite. So all of a sudden we can simplify it down to our feelings. So if we can go to a midpoint of complete stillness, let's say that you've got out the bath, you've got new bed sheets on and you lay in bed and you're just laying there. It's been a great day. Peace, stillness, calmness. There's no need to get the phone out. Like TV stays off, just peace and quiet. God. So the opposite of that, think about the times that we carry stress at home from our day. Think about things that we're holding on to. So the opposite of love is fear. So under fear is all of these other labels that we can attach to it. It's a knowing. So I'm going to share another one with Anthony De Mello now, and his explanations of love. But again, the way that I just described it, explain the opposite. Notice your ego go off, because it gets you. It definitely gets you. So share screen again.
Program, I want to deal with the illusions connected with love. To talk of prayer is to talk of love. For God is love. Love is divine. But what generally goes under the name of love has nothing to do with love at all. Nothing. So let me begin by telling you what love is not, and then indicating, however vaguely, what love is. Love is not attraction. I love you more than I love anyone else. Translate, I'm more attracted to you than to others. How does that sound? You draw me more than others. You fit the programming in my head better than other people do. Not very flattering to you, because if my programming had been different, remember how people say, what does he find in her? What does he see in her? Aha! They say love is blind. Attraction is blind, not love. There is nothing so clear-sighted as love. This whole process of I'm attracted to you, you know where the love comes from? It comes from you, not from me. It doesn't spring from me. You draw me. The day you cease to be attractive, what happens? Well, I'll hold on to you out of guilt, out of loyalty, out of an ideal. But love in your sense of the word has died. If for you love means attraction, it's gone. I was told of an old couple, grandpa and grandma. They were celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. They were tired after all the celebrations, sitting in the veranda, and grandpa felt moved, see, and he said, "Grandma, I'm proud of you." "What was that, grandpa?" She says, "You better speak louder. You know I cannot hear you without my hearing aid." He said, "I'm proud of you." She says, "That's all right. I'm tired of you too." You know, that's where attraction always ends up. You're attracted. If you give in to that attraction, gratification follows. And after the gratification, wearisomeness. Or, if it persists, anxiety. I hope I can keep this. I hope somebody else doesn't get it. Possessiveness, jealousy, fear of loss. That isn't love. Another thing that love is not, it is not dependency. Now, you know, it's very good to depend on people. We depend on one another, or else we wouldn't have society. Interdependence, wonderful. We depend on the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. We depend on the pilot, on the cab driver, on all sorts of people. But to depend on another for your happiness, that is the evil. That someone would have the power to decide whether you would be happy or not. If you have that, if you ever give to somebody this power, you will be fearful. You will manipulate. You cannot leave that person free, because don't forget, your happiness depends on this person. You're a burden. Sometimes you get two empty people depending on one another. Two incomplete people depending, leaning on one another. Two dominoes. One moves, the other falls. Is that love? Love is not the assuaging of our loneliness. People feel empty inside, and they rush to fill the emptiness with someone. That isn't love. Incidentally, that emptiness, that loneliness that so many people are running away from. They run into all kinds of activity, even social activity. They run into work. They run to other people's arms to assuage that emptiness, that loneliness. The only cure for that loneliness, I said to you in the previous program, is not contact with human beings, but contact with reality. What does that mean? If you would face the loneliness, you might discover that it isn't there. There is no emptiness. If you would face the illusion that you were programmed into by your society, that you need others, you'd realize it isn't there. You're watching a movie, enjoying yourself immensely. Suddenly, at that moment, you don't need anybody. This is an illusion that has been created in our heads. And here's something else you may want to remember for the future. Both what you're running away from and what you're searching for is inside of you. It's all there. If you would face what's going on inside of you, what you're running away from would disappear, and what you're searching for would emerge. So love is not the assuaging, the soothing of our loneliness. Mostly when people talk about love, you know what they're talking about? They're talking about a thing of the market. It's a bargain. You be good to me, I'll be good to you. You be nice to me, I'll be nice to you. You're not nice to me, funny. Those nice feelings I had towards you turn sour. Is that love? You could bargain with money. You could strike a deal with money. You could strike a deal with all kinds of things. You're striking a deal with your emotions, and that's supposed to be love. Here's another surprise. Love is not desire. I desire you with all my heart. You know, inasmuch as I love you, I do not desire you. I enjoy you thoroughly, but I'm too full to need you. It's like when you come, you're so enjoyable, and when you leave, I'm not at all miserable. I'll enjoy the next thing, and the next, and the next person, and the next. I'm full. And if you are full too, how marvelous that is. Centuries ago, Buddha had these marvelous words to say. The world is full of sorrow. The origin of sorrow, the root of sorrow, is desire. The uprooting of sorrow is desirelessness. Let's translate that better, because by desire he meant a desire on whose fulfillment my happiness depends. And our societies and cultures are the whole time encouraging us to add to these desires. So we're more and more programmed to unhappiness and to non-love. The world is full of sorrow. The root of sorrow is craving. The uprooting of sorrow is cravinglessness. I desire all kinds of things, but I don't desperately need anything. If that desire is not fulfilled, I'll be quite happy. I explained this in the previous program. Sometimes people say, if you had no desire, would you ever achieve something? If you had no ambition, like that guy who stands up on a platform and he says, I was born an Englishman, I will live an Englishman, and I shall die an Englishman. And an Irishman in the crowd shouts, man, have you got no ambition? He says, ambition. That's one of the things we were brainwashed into. They told us, if you don't have an ambition, you won't do anything. They forgot that there's so much energy and so much delight in working, whereas the ambition brings tension. Listen to these marvelous words of the great Chinese sage, Chuang Tzu. They're so good that I took the trouble to learn them by heart. Let's see if they come out well. And if they don't, we won't be upset by the failure, will we? Now, when an archer shoots for nothing, he says, he has all his skill. When he shoots for a brass buckle, he is already nervous. When he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. He is out of his mind. He sees two targets. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares. He thinks more of winning than of shooting. And the need to win drains him of power. Isn't that marvelous? It was your ambition that drained you of power. You were driving with your brakes on. You were tense. So, the world is full of sorrow. The root of sorrow is craving. Marriages that are built on craving are so fragile, so ready to fall apart. I have expectations of you. You better live up to them, or else. You have expectations of me. I'd better live up to them, or else. Quarrels. See, you need me, I need you. I need to find my happiness in you. You need to find your happiness in me. That's where the struggle begins. That's where the possessiveness begins. And you know something? Wherever there is desire, in this sense of the word, there's a threat. And where there's a threat, there's fear. And where there is fear, there is no love, because we always hate what we fear. And perfect love casts out fear. Wherever there's desire of the type that I described, it always goes attended by fear. So love is not desire. Love is not attachment. Falling in love is the exact opposite of love. And it's canonized everywhere. It's a disease. Everybody's trying to give it to you. You find it in your movies, in your love songs. These are need songs. I saw a movie the other day. This girl says to this boy who's dying, "Don't die. I love you. I cannot live without you." I cannot live without you. Love, that's hunger. So, you know something? When I fall in love with you, I cease to see you. I don't see you anymore. Whenever there's a powerful emotion, whether it's positive or negative, I cannot see you. The emotion comes in the way. I'm projecting my own needs onto you. Falling in love is blind. Attachment. We're already moving into what love is. I told you what love is not. You know something? I cannot tell you what love is. It cannot be said. I cannot tell you what happiness is. It cannot be said. When you drop your fears and your attachments and your illusions, you will know. I could give you comparisons. Listen to this. To love means at least clarity of perception, accuracy of response. I see you clearly as you are. That's the least I could demand in love. How could I love you if I don't see you? Now get ready for a surprise. Generally, when I see you or you see me, we don't see one another. We're seeing an image. A husband, does he relate to his wife or to his image of his wife? Is the wife relating to her husband or to her image of her husband? How is this image formed? Watch this. If you think you've been shocked till now, get ready for this one. I have an experience of you. That experience is stored in my memory. I make a judgment on the basis of that experience. I'm carrying this along with me, and I'm acting or reacting to you on the basis of this. Not on the basis of what you are right now. There's a picture on my window as I look through it at you. I'm looking through that picture. No clarity of perception. There's a lot.
So the way that he just explains it again, it comes down to love or fear. And all these words, attachment, like they're things that we carry with us the whole time. And I love that, is that a lot of my teachings have realized that I've changed quickly. And there's some days where I go from one, it's like this jump, like this leap. Yet I still view people in my life like my sister. And I still got attachments to my sister, or the old sister I know. I don't know the journey that they and everyone else goes on. And sometimes all it takes is that moment. It is one defining point in our story where you can go back to. It was there, it was that talk, it was that accident, it was that birth, it was that death. There's something within you when you realize there's something more to this world than what we have been told and what we carry to go and seek. And the more we can start understanding, if you bring it to the core, so all the words, all the mind is outside of ourselves, bring it back inwards, and then you've got two, love or fear. And then you bring it within, all you've got is love. And then there's the mind that gives fear. The mind labels the other. If I don't like something, I've said I don't like it. I choose not to go there because I like that one. I get a choice still. But do I have to then hate everyone who likes that? Do I have to get really frustrated every time I see someone doing something like that? Or they haven't been on that part of the journey yet. And there's a lot of other things that have to come into our life first before we could even accept that. And that's something I really wanted to put out for everyone on here as well. We've all got parts to our story, and if we was to be honest with ourselves, there's still a lot of things that we know that we got to work on. We know that there's certain things holding us back. We know that there's a conversation waiting. We know that there's some actions that need to be done. We know that we have to spend time and sit through something. That there's all these things, but we know. But we can then get attached to all the outcomes or just focus on like what is right now. And if you're in that space right now, look, there's clarity. And from him talking, did anyone get a little soul slap? Or like a little realization? Because it is that we're so dependent outside of ourselves. So when people say, oh, I love them, or they make me feel this way, where is that feeling? Feelings inside your body. So when we say, oh, they make me feel that way, I'm still feeling that inside my body. I've still had the thoughts to create that feeling. It's still within. And then we're going to look at the wording. And I always say, pay attention to the wording. When you read the word in silently, where is the words? The word in, the thought, the feeling. And then that feeling, I then word out. I speak it all. So the gatekeeper of the mind is you choose what comes into your temple, into your kingdom. You got the disciples of the mind, the discipline to keep it every single day. So let's flip it on to finish that talk, because he goes on to more of pointing us to like, what is love? Because if that's not all what is, everything you start saying now, you're going to see it's all from within. Perspective, that's my key component this year. I'm going to say that's my soul word for the year is perspective. Because as soon as you start changing the perspectives, and I always encourage people now, I owe you. I view the perspective from the I. O is the soul. You is them, and us equals. So if we view it from us first, and you be honest, like, and you're like, yeah, I am being on my truth, and I am turning up. Okay, view it for their eyes. What don't they know about you first? Have you had that conversation to let them know that it's triggering you? Oh no, so they don't know, so you just assume they do. Then go from higher, like what is the overall side of this? Is it continues like this? Is it going to be any good for any of us? Our health, the situation we have in the world at the moment, is that worth it? And then you get your answers. So I'll flip it now onto the next part, and then we'll go on to, so everything he said then, watch when I go through the biblical text. Watch how it all in sync, like to the perfection. So when people argue and no, you're not God, no, you're not Christ, that resistance on its own is, it says it in the book, it matches with words from others, the feelings that we're experiencing inside, they're all in alignment. So rather than saying it's not, can you tell me what bit of it it's not? What bit's untrue? You will not be able to do it, because the meaning is always from the individual. We can use other people's stories to make sense of our experience and to connect the dots. It's only us that can give it the real confirmation.
Lovely sentence in the New Testament where Paul, speaking of love, says, love keeps no record of wrongs. And I say to people sometimes, you're going to be very sorry when you get up there and you find they don't have any books. There's a lovely story of this woman who's supposed to be getting visions of God. So the bishop sends for her. And he says, listen, you're creating a great sensation. I suppose you realize that being bishop of the diocese, it is up to me to decide whether those visions are true or false. She says, yes, Your Excellency. And this is my responsibility and duty. Yes, Your Excellency. So you're going to have to do what I tell you. I will, Your Excellency. He says, now look, the next time that God appears to you, or whoever it is that appears to you, you're going to put him this test by which I'll know whether he's really God or not. She says, very well, Your Excellency. What is the test? And the test is going to be this. You're going to say to God, please tell me the private and personal sins of the bishop. And then he says, after God has revealed that to you, if he is God, then you come and tell me and no one else. Okay? And she said, very well, Your Excellency. After a month, she comes back. And the bishop said, did God appear to you again? She says, I think so, Your Excellency. Did you ask him that question? She said, I certainly did. And what did God say? God said, go tell the bishop I forgot his sins. How about that one? No record. You know something? Love keeps no records of rights either. No rights, no wrongs. No good, no bad. I see you in present moment freshness, and I react to what's here. Shall I react to a memory or to you? A memory, good or bad? That cuts both ways, you know. We had a quarrel, and you come up to me and say, you know, sorry about that quarrel. Quarrel? I remember it, but there's no emotion attached to it. It's over. That's what the mystics are talking about when they talk about the purification of memory. They're not saying forget everything, drain it of emotion, sanitized. And you say, remember how much we were in love 2 years ago? You want me to react to that? You want me to react to you as you are now? You want to carry over this capital and get dividends from it? You know, if you come to think of it, it's terrifying. Most people are doing the opposite of this, which means they don't know what love is. Love is like listening to a symphony. Life is a symphony, and to love means to be sensitive to the whole of that symphony. It means to have a sensitive heart to everyone and to everything. Can you imagine someone who's listening to a symphony and only hears the drums? Or gives so much value to the drums that the other instruments are almost drowned out? A good musician who loves music will listen to every one of those instruments. He may have his favorite instrument. He may have his preferences, but he listens to them all. When you fall in love, when you have an infatuation, an attachment, an addiction, an obsession with a human being, you know what you're doing? That person stands out and the others are drowned out. Your heart is no longer sensitive. Love is not a relationship. Love is a state of being. Love exists before there's any human being around. Before you come around, love already exists. Namely, the sensitive heart exists always. You don't draw that heart. That heart is sensitive to you and responds accurately to you. But then to drown out the drums, that's just as bad because you're hardening your heart again. This is what love is, to listen to the whole of the symphony, to be sensitive to it all. I told you, when the eye is unobstructed, the result is sight. You cannot do anything to get love. If you would understand your desires, attachments, attractions, obsessions, addictions, and they would drop, love would emerge. When the eye is unobstructed, the result is sight. When the heart is unobstructed, the result is love. In my country, the poets and the mystics put it so beautifully. They say, is it possible for a rose to say, I will give my fragrance to good people and withhold it from bad people? The rose by its very nature cannot but love all. Is it possible for a lamp lit in the night to say, I will give my light to the good people in this room and withhold it from the bad? Is it possible for a tree to say, I will give my shade to the good people who sit under me, but withhold it from the bad? It cannot. And the poet Kabir will say, the tree will give its shade even to the man who is striking it down, and if it is a sweet-smelling tree, it will leave its scent on the axe. What merit is it to you of yours if you only greet those who greet you? And if you only love those who love you? You must be all loving, as your heavenly Father is all loving, for he makes his sun to shine on good and bad alike, and on saints and sinners alike.
I absolutely love that. Again, really, really simple, the way that you can just break it down. How can you argue with it? And if you look at life as you in the middle, and imagine you've got this whole circle all the way around you, and it's a color spectrum. And right in the middle of that is the white light, is the pendulum that swings. So if you're just present, you're being, that pendulum is still. So you're now experiencing the whole life in its entirety. So I'm going to move on now to the biblical scripture. So last week I was going through where it says, you are God and you are Christ. And I shared a number of ones to back that up. Still gets met with resistance. So we'll skip all the different concepts. We're going to go straight to the feelings this time. So based on what you just heard from Anthony De Mello, watch how many of these things are so in sync. And yeah, the biblical text, there's so much in there. There's so much, but we have to go and get the answers. And it's not even the answers, it's to go and get more creation. And we can take what we can from it. And again, I encourage people. So I did this live last week, and I listened to it back with music on as a meditation. And it was like the words were vibrating inside me. It was like a true understanding. And one of the scriptures is the God and his only son, you become one, like until you accept each other. So I realized the son is the soul. So when you take your senses out, closing your eyes, if you remove movement, you lay down in your bed, then because your body has no activity, there's no stimulation to the mind either. So the human experience just disappears. And then all you've got is your soul, which has a truth. So judgment can only come from the mind. So if you've already got that out, then all of a sudden, all these teachings, they do go through you and they stay. So I've realized that a lot of my learning from people like Anthony De Mello is book awareness. It's a must get. I would say it's my most recommended book. Conversations with God, which I'm going to share one to finish off today. Go and listen to them and let them ring through you, because the way it's delivered, for me, it goes straight to the soul. There's no maze to get around to impress or to allow to understand or to judge. It just goes straight in. So have a look how amazing some of these are. So again, I won't spend too much time on them, but I know that with what's going on in the world at the moment, and we always, it's like there's a real need to get answers, and there's a real need to know what's going on. If we zoom out of what's going on, what's happening in life, zoom out. What's going on in my life? What's happening in my life? What am I searching? Oh, truth. What is truth? Oh, it's a feeling inside me. This is the truth. It complements that. In fact, that gives us, like the movie that we're watching, it gives us enjoyment. It gives us suspense. It gives us like more questions to have answers. That's great, but is that what we're seeking completely? Because all that information is going to unravel itself. What does it leave you? Still confused completely. So when we start from within these basic truths, then all of a sudden what comes out, that word of attachment again, I then let go of attachment to all the different things that can, because I know we're already heading to God. And this is a big shout. I don't think anyone will watch it, but they don't like my stuff or they challenged it. Listen to what Anthony De Mello's words are. At this moment, I've met you. So if you're not being yourself, your true self, or you're hiding something, or you're being deceitful knowingly, but you're talking the word, I feel it's not right. That's why we don't resonate. But forget me out the picture. If you're holding on to anything, if you're being deceitful, if you're being, I would even call it evil, if you're stuck in a bad system, if you feel like you can't do anything, like they're all elements of against God. The moment you can just drop that and try to figure out what is it, like underlining what is it, quite quickly you're in God's hands. So my encouragement is to really start knowing that God is real. There's messengers that are sharing the story and pointing people in the direction, but can only come from you. But the first key part is within you. That's what you've got to accept and let go of. So And these are beautiful, again, confirming what we went on last time, that God lives within us. Look, and so we know and rely on the love of God has for us. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. A lot of these are from John again. This bit, he said exactly the same. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. Love is just a one light. It's a complete knowing. Any distortions in there, it's getting in the way. We love because he first loved us. Read those words yourself. And again, if you read, you'll hear me always speak the word we and our and us. And some people will comment, oh, you think you're in the club, or you think you're that by saying we. Well, if I'm on the work of God and I'm doing God's work, and if I'm now looking through God's creation, he's on my team. That is we, because if it's not we, then I'm not on their team. I'm not doing God. So when you start speaking through the eyes of other people, it's still a truth. If people are not willing to jump on that team, that's fine. But to know that we're all in this together, that's more powerful. And creation takes place when more than one person starts seeing it and experiencing it and putting it out into the world. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us. All perfection. So to have God into your life, you have to have love. God is love. So to accept love into your life is you accepting God into your life. So the love starts from in. Do you love yourself? Do you love your life? Do you love the people in your life? Do you love the choices that you're making at the moment? All these questions. The answer is simple. And if it's not the answer that you know is the truth, then you ask yourself, well, what is it then? Why am I holding on? And then you'll see instantly there's a fear somewhere. So coming back to you are God and we are children of God, rather than there's only one son of God and everyone else is just sinners. These are just like perfect. Look, see what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God. And so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know him. So until you can start seeing love, you don't get this experience. It's there waiting for us to grab onto. The moment you know you're delivered, you're a present to this world, you're God's creation. That is an amazing foundation to start from. Same thing. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. So if you are love, you have to be you are God. Right? Love is a feeling, love is energy. It's heartfelt. Dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God. John again. So this is an amazing one. If I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of the prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith and can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all, I possess the poor and give over my body to hardship, that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. How many things are we experiencing this now? And this comes back to, again, my experiences in the church. They're speaking all the right words, they've got all the right outfits on, they've got all the titles. In the spiritual world, they've got their singing bowls, and they've got their music playing, and they've got their Reiki, all the knowledge, all the certification. If they don't have love, then we have nothing. And this is why, again, simplify life down to love or fear. When you're now engaging with people, look at this first impressions. What's their energy like? If it's not from love, that instantly there's a choice waiting to be made. Do I still want to go ahead with, I'll give them the benefit of doubt. Or I promise you, you'll get a feeling that knows. And if you go against it after, the more in tune you are, you say, why did I even make that one? Then you get your teaching again. I was being nice. Didn't want to upset them. I should have said something. Okay, well, how do I change it next time? He talked about moving mountains in his talk as well. And though I have the gift of the prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. And that these two were both from Corinthians, literally in the same titles. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently find me. So again, when I'm finding myself, when I'm really trying to search for answers and take meaning from my experience, I'm having all these, they are godlike moments. I feel the flow, I feel the energy inside me. I feel connections with complete strangers. I feel that space. And that's who seek me diligently. It's not like, where's God, where's God? It's like, this is my life. So I realize as well, the 4 soul questions I ask: who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? And what am I grateful for? And people are like, what's your answer to who am I? I realized, because I ask myself those every day, who am I is like, well, who am I as my body? Who am I when I walk? Who am I when I sleep? Who am I when I meditate? Who am I when I'm on the beach? Who am I when I'm in the forest? I take a different experience each time. And it's getting really in tune. So when I walk now, I'll go down the stairs as an example. I'll walk on one block of stairs just on my little toe and I'm rolling my feet. Then I go on the inner toe. Then I try to spread my toes. I'm learning who I am as I'm walking. So, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. So this is when people get confused with Jesus Christ, who only loves my only son. Sun is the sun in the sky. There's only one sun there. That sun in the sky is an energy that comes down, which is a soul. That soul is within all of us, so that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. Our bodies, if we talk to it, we give it the right environment, we feed it with fuel, and soon when we have the education that comes back to us of what we are capable, watch how everything changes. Therefore, know that the Lord, your God, he is God, the faithful God who keeps covenant and mercy for 1,000 generations with those who love him and keep his commandments. So again, when people say, oh no, you're not God, the words are right there. Therefore, know that the Lord, your God, he is God, the faithful God. Can you see, people? It's so simple. My little children, let us not love in the world, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. So this is, again, words, actions, and thoughts. It's the actions that we pay attention to. People can speak a good game all the time. They can make promises. They can tell you that they love you, but are they being that person? And that's, for me, a clear verse that we can use for this. Words can never point you to the truth. So let us not love in words, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth. It's your energy how you show up each time. Then we talk about the fruits that God leaves for us. Watch this. I'm going to show you how, again, they edit the scriptures sometimes to show you where they put a bit of fear in. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Land, air, and water. So when we say love and all the words to describe love, look at them in here. From the Spirit, look, the fruit of the Spirit. Love, joy, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Simple stuff. Watch the difference of this one. Same thing, Galatians. Look, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. They change it. Throw in long-suffering. If you've got long-suffering, you're caught in time, which is in the mind. You take a teaching from the past, an experience that you felt suffering at that moment, but you don't carry it with you. So again, when you look at the scriptures, try to find a few different ones and you'll see 1 or 2 words changes everything. Keeping no record of wrongs is hitting me deep today. what great love to have that type of space to be in. Indeed. Thank you for sharing, Amanda. And love keeps no records of the wrong, which comes back to my thing about whatever people have done in their part, I don't know. If you continue to come into the flow of life with something that you are holding on to, something doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is yet, but if you keep doing it, I've got to cut that out. That's the example of it. But also what he said, keeps no records of the rights either. All the things that you did, and you hold on just to them because you haven't been doing that now. If we turn up each day, and then we set the intentions of how we show up, that's what the truth is. So this is another powerful one. It's not the best and clear. Jesus answered, the most important is, hear, O Israel, the Lord of our God. The Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and of all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these. So this is the big teachings here, and a few of these like this. Look, a new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So if the love always starts from within you, I can still have love for everyone that enters my world. But have I got the love as a relationship? I got to now do things. I'm not dependent on them. I can love that they come into it, and I can love myself, that I respect myself so much that I'm avoiding that path for now. It's not serving me. We don't resonate on certain things, but I have loved that you become teachers in my life. So you're going to start seeing more and more acceptance. And this is just, again, digging into this. But love your enemies, do good to them and lend to them without expecting to get anything back. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High, because he is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. So if you put out yourself, let's say that on these live videos, on the meditations, I'm giving a service, I'm putting out me. That's as pure and as spirit-like as I possibly can. If people have not experienced that, and people can say all the words that they want about me, and all the things that I believe in and I do, yet that's the truth for me. That's my service. So I can put that out, and even the word enemies, they're not my enemies. It's just the opposites in regards to God. That's the part for here. So is to respect all. The respect, again, always comes from within yourself. That respect is protecting your energy. Paying attention to that intuition, because it'll tell you, don't go there. Stay away from that. Stay at home today. Let go of FOMO, fear of. Let go of that. And then there's a few nice ones to finish on here. So love is patient, love is kind, and love is not jealous. Love does not brag and is not arrogant, does not act uncommonly, it does not seek its own, it is not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Corinthians. Be rooted and grounded in love, comprehending with all the saints the breadth, the length, the depth, the height, the knowing, the love of Christ, which surpasses knowledge, that you might be filled with all the fullness of God. So I thought they were some really, again, powerful, simple teachings. And again, for me, an extra confirmation, a bit of a soul slap, some things to bring awareness to and implement, and to see what I'm learning from that one too. So I'm going to leave you then with a powerful bit to finish. So again, simplifying it down to the duality. And this is from one of my favorite books as well, Conversations with God. And I always say, when I listen to this book, it's like I am having a conversation with God. God speaks through me when I hear these words. So I'm going to be doing a series of meditations as well, where it would be called Conversations with God. And I'm going to be finding different parts of the book to put into the meditations, and also to create the meditation theme around these teachings too. And as I said earlier, is when you remove the mind, the ego, when you come away from the body and you're just there in presence, what's the gift from God? It's creation. It's spoken through someone else. that got inspired by the Creator. So this is one of my favorite soul slaps. I've listened to this so many times on repeat. Give this one a go.
How then can I be truly grateful for something I know is not there?
Faith. If you have but the faith of a mustard seed, you shall move mountains. You come to know it is there because I said it is.
And also just with those biblical texts. So again, they're confirmations because it allows anyone to get involved with these conversations, regardless of the background. If they're not religious, look how beautiful the texts are. If they are religious, look, this is still confirming what we're saying. Have a look at this. If they're getting defensive, let's look a bit deeper. Let's look at what the word love is and how God is love and love is God. All of a sudden, it gives a lot more meaning. And here's my question for you to even take. I get excited about this stuff now, and I know talking about God and scriptures, that would have been, it wouldn't have been an interest at all for me. I would have run the other way a few years ago. And then when you get a lot of people that preaching all the time and it has to be this way, it puts people off. When I pay attention to things like this, and I know it influences my life, and I know that the things that I now see in my day, I'm like, whoa, I've learned even more about myself. And then I meet other people that are on their own journeys. There is an excitement there. And at some point, more and more of us are going to get these understandings that we are the truth. We are the light. And from dark to light is from our sleepy state to the awakened state.
Is there. Because I said that even before you ask, I shall have answered. Because I said and have said to you in every conceivable way, through every teacher you can name, that whatsoever you shall choose, choosing it in my name, so shall it be.
Yet so many people say that their prayers have gone.
Just quickly, guys, did you see any of those on this? Was there a screen share? Could you see the biblical text that I was sharing? Or did you not see anything? So I might have to edit the video afterwards because that was just me talking. Please do let me know. I'll start playing this again.
Gone unanswered.
No prayer, and a prayer is nothing more than a fervent statement of what is so, goes unanswered. Every prayer, every thought, every statement, every feeling is creative. To the degree that it is fervently held as truth, to that degree will it be made manifest in your experience. When it is said that a prayer has not been answered, what has in actuality happened is that the most fervently held thought, word, or feeling has become operative. Yet what you must know, and here's the secret, is that always it is the thought behind the thought, what might be called the sponsoring thought, that is the controlling thought. If therefore you beg and supplicate, there seems a much smaller chance that you will experience what you think you are choosing, because the sponsoring thought behind every supplication is that you do not have now what you wish. That sponsoring thought becomes your reality. The only sponsoring thought which could override this thought is the thought held in faith that God will grant whatever is asked without fail. Some people have such faith, and very few. The process of prayer becomes much easier when, rather than having to believe that God will always say yes to every request, one understands intuitively that the request itself is not necessary. Then the prayer is a prayer of thanksgiving. It is not a request at all, but a statement of gratitude for what is so.
When you say that a prayer is a statement of what is so, are you saying that God does nothing, that everything which happens after a prayer is a result of the prayer's action?
If you believe that God is some omnipotent being who hears all prayers, says yes to some, no to others, and maybe, but not now, to the rest, you are mistaken. By what rule of thumb would God decide? If you believe that God is the creator and decider of all things in your life, you are mistaken. God is the observer, not the creator. And God stands ready to assist you in living your life, but not in the way you might expect. It is not God's function to create or uncreate the circumstances or conditions of your life. God created you in the image and likeness of God. You have created the rest through the power God has given you. God created the process of life and life itself as you know it. Yet God gave you free choice to do with life as you will. In this sense, your will for you is God's will for you. You are living your life the way you are living your life, and I have no preference in the matter. This is the grand illusion in which you have engaged, that God cares one way or the other what you do. I do not care
Listen to this analogy.
what you do, and that is hard for you to hear. Yet do you care what your children do when you send them out to play? Is it a matter of consequence to you whether they play tag or hide and seek or pretend? No, it is not. Because you know they are perfectly safe. You have placed them in an environment which you consider friendly and very okay. Of course, you will always hope that they do not hurt themselves. And if they do, you will be right there to help them, heal them, allow them to feel safe again, to be happy again, to go and play again another day. But whether they choose hide and seek or pretend will not matter to you the next day either. You will tell them, of course, which games are dangerous to play. But you cannot stop your children from doing dangerous things. Not always, not forever. Not in every moment from now until death. It is the wise parent who knows this. Yet the parent never stops caring about the outcome. It is this dichotomy, not caring deeply about the process, but caring deeply about the result, that comes close to describing the dichotomy of God. Yet God, in a sense, does not even care about the outcome, not the ultimate outcome. This is because the ultimate outcome is assured. And this is the second great illusion of man, that the outcome of life is in doubt. It is this doubt about ultimate outcome that has created your greatest enemy, which is fear. For if you doubt outcome, then you must doubt Creator. You must doubt God. And if you doubt God, you must live in fear and guilt all your life. If you doubt God's intentions, and God's ability to produce this ultimate result, then how can you ever relax? How can you ever truly find peace? Yet God has full power to match intentions with results. You cannot and will not believe in this, even though you claim that God is all-powerful. And so you have to create in your imagination a power equal to God, in order that you may find a way for God's will to be thwarted. So you have created in your mythology the being you call devil. You have even imagined a God at war with this being, thinking that God solves problems the way you do. Finally, you have actually imagined that God could lose this war. All of this violates everything you say you know about God, but this doesn't matter. You live your illusion, and thus feel your fear, all out of your decision to doubt God. But what if you made a new decision? What then would be the result? I tell you this, you would live as the Buddha did, as Jesus did, as did every saint you have ever idolized. Yet, as with most of these saints, people would not understand you. And when you tried to explain your sense of peace, your joy in life, your inner ecstasy, they would listen to your words but not hear them. They would try to repeat your words, but would add to them. They would wonder how you could have what they cannot find. And then they would grow jealous. Soon jealousy would turn to rage, and in their anger they would try to convince you that it is you who do not understand God. And if they were unsuccessful at tearing you from your joy, they would seek to harm you. So enormous would be their rage. And when you told them it does not matter, that even death cannot interrupt your joy nor change your truth, they would surely kill you. Then, when they saw the peace with which you accepted death, they would call you a saint and love you again. For it is the nature of people to love, then destroy, then love again that which they value most.
But why? Why do we do that?
All human actions are motivated at their deepest level by one of two emotions, fear or love. In truth, there are only two emotions, only two words in the language of the soul. These are the opposite ends of the great polarity which I created when I produced the universe and your world as you know it today. These are the 2 points, the alpha and the omega, which allow the system you call relativity to be. Without these 2 points, without these 2 ideas about things, no other idea could exist. Every human thought and every human action is based in either love or fear. There's no other human motivation, and all other ideas are but derivatives of these 2. They are simply different versions, different twists on the same theme. Think on this deeply, and you will see that it is true. This is what I have called the sponsoring thought. It is either a thought of love or fear. This is the thought behind the thought behind the thought. It is the first thought. It is prime force. It is the raw energy that drives the engine of human experience. And here is how human behavior produces repeat experience after repeat experience. It is why humans love, then destroy, then love again. Always there's the swing from one emotion to the other. Love sponsors, fear sponsors, love sponsors fear. And the reason is found in the first lie. The lie which you hold is the truth about God, that God cannot be trusted, that God's love cannot be depended upon, that God's acceptance of you is conditional, that the ultimate outcome is thus in doubt. For if you cannot depend on God's love to always be there, on whose love can you depend? If God retreats and withdraws when you do not perform properly, will not mere mortals also? And so it is that in the moment you pledge your highest love, you greet your greatest fear. The first thing you worry about after saying I love you is whether you'll hear it back. And if you hear it back, then you begin immediately to worry that the love you have just found you will lose. And so all action becomes a reaction, defense against loss, even as you seek to defend yourself against the loss of God. Yet if you knew who you are, that you are the most magnificent, the most remarkable, the most splendid being God has ever created, you would never fear. For who could reject such wondrous magnificence? Not even God could find fault in such a being. But you do not know who you are, and you think you are a great deal less. Where did you get the idea of how much less than magnificent you are? And the only people whose word you would take on everything are your mother and your father. These are the people who love you the most. Why would they lie to you? Yet have they not told you that you are too much of this and not enough of that? Have they not reminded you that you are to be seen and not heard? Have they not scolded you in some of the moments of your greatest exuberance? And did they not encourage you to set aside some of your wildest imagining? These are the messages you've received. And though they do not meet the criteria, and are thus not messages from God, they might as well have been. For they have come from the gods of your universe, surely enough. It was your parents who taught you that love is conditional. You have felt their conditions many times, and that is the experience you take into your own love relationships. It is also the experience you bring to me. From this experience you draw your conclusions about me. Within this framework you speak your truth. God is a loving God, you say, but if you break his commandments, he will punish you with the eternal banishment and everlasting damnation. For have you not experienced the banishment of your own parents? Do you not know the pain of their damnation? How, then, could you imagine it to be any different with me? You have forgotten what it was like to be loved without condition. You do not remember
the experience of the love of God. And so you try to imagine what God's love must be like, based on what you see of love in the world. You have projected the role of parent onto God, and have thus come up with a God who judges and rewards or punishes based on how good he feels about what you've been up to. But this is a simplistic view of God, based on your mythology. It has nothing to do with who I am. Having thus created an entire thought system about God based on human experience rather than spiritual truths, you then create an entire reality around love. It is a fear-based reality, rooted in the idea of a fearful, vengeful God. Its sponsoring thought is wrong, but to deny that thought would be to disrupt your whole theology. And though the new theology, which would replace it, would truly be your salvation, you cannot accept it, because the idea of a God who is not to be feared, who will not judge, and who has no cause to punish, is simply too magnificent to be embraced within your grandest notion of who and what God is.
All right. Okay, I'll edit it back after. I'll put the text in as well. But just, can you see how all those words, when you're in a meditative experience, they're all inside you? And the more we keep confirming that, that's a daily thing. We have to really accept God into our life is accepting us. Like every part of our life, or where we are right now, we accept that. And then we know that we've always got the solutions for our next step, the choice that we get to make by being present, which is the gift, that is the choice. So all of these teachings, from a spiritual teacher to a book called Conversation with God to biblical text, all comes back to the same thing. It's love. It's the ultimate. It's a feeling. And even the word love, as we've all explained today, it still cannot be put into complete words. They're just pointers to the truth. And it's only when you get there, which is just being, then you start seeing it all. And if you can simplify love to that moment of just stillness and try to feel the love that takes place within your body when you are healing, that's love. And when you're healing and you capture that moment, what happens? You remember, which means you go through life recreating experiences, new experiences, similar to that one, because you've now had a reminder. That's the beauty of life now, and it gets more and more exciting. And the thing is, my words, they carry a lot of feelings behind them now. They also carry a lot of experiences that I've had and a lot of realizations that continue to come my way. So I just pass in and sharing all this too, but my body, it vibrates all the time. When I go into these meditations now, it's more powerful. And sometimes there's things that take place to my body, feelings, sensations, where it doesn't feel, I don't know what this feeling, I've never had that feeling before. Or, as they say, we're re-remembering that feeling. So it's to ride that out, like be with it. And the thing is once you're in control of it, you get above the high. Get above the high is the higher self, God. And then you start seeing that if you are one with God, only good things will happen to you, God things. That's what I love about all of this now. So I know that my story is the way that I choose it to be, the way that I put my energy into spaces, and the way that I protect my energy. And all this stuff now, it flows out of me because it is a truth that I'm now living with. And I'm continuing to learn more about myself when I get the basics right. Love, and then you got your soul and ego, then you got the three part being the body, mind, and soul. That's kind of like a blueprint for me that I go, that's the simple stuff. then after that, then I can start giving it descriptions. Then I can start giving it more meaning. Then I can start learning and get a bit more depth to the understanding of it all. It's really, really powerful, people. And it just, again, the soul slap, it puts things into perspective sometimes, because from the back of these talk, again, I make contact with my sister. From the back of these talk, I realize there's certain people that I have stopped communicating with because I'm holding on. But people change all the time as well. So I encourage people is to speak your truth. And speaking your truth is speaking it to yourself. Like, be honest, go into those dark places, go into the lies that you're continuing to hold on to, and speak it and see what comes out of it. Because when you speak that, another choice gets made after. So I hope you enjoyed that one. It was just under 2 hours today. But these are the things where I feel you get this as a soulful essential. This is the foundation to life, because everything else then that get presented to you, it makes sense. You can say no at any point. You can hold on to it and go into it even more. They're all choices you get to make. So it's experience, it's create, and it's remember. And it's to continue that cycle all the time. And this is just getting started. We're getting more and more information given to us. We're getting more and more people being able to speak out now and share their experiences. And also knowing that we're a lot more protected here as well. We've got God's armor on. So the more that you can start speaking it and being confident with that, it's a truth. And then you just realize that it's not there for everyone to grab at this moment. So it might not connect with them. However, it will, because there's only one ultimate truth that comes back to every time. So people, thank you again for watching this. If you are watching the recording, please subscribe to the channel. I also have something called a super thanks now as well. If you like my content, you get any value from it, please do show your support. We've also got Buy Me a Coffee as well. This is something that I love doing, and it's something I will continue to do now. So if there's any topics you'd like me to discuss, I've got loads now. I'm ready to go. I'm going to do another live tomorrow on the new world and what it looks like with love around animals and the way that we all connect with nature. And you'll see how the world is the way it is because it's all fear that's been put out. And all of a sudden you see what our roles and responsibilities and how much more we can start giving to this world. And you'll see like how much excitement comes from that as well. So I'm going to do one tomorrow. It'll be the same time. And it'll also be on YouTube on here. I've got some really cool stuff on that one. So people have a play around with some of the teachings that come on there and see if you can bring awareness to maybe things that you are holding on to or you're doing out of ego, and then see if there's other solutions that come your way from that. And like I said as well, the meditations, I'm going to do a number of series with conversations with God, and I'll guide you into a point where you are in that complete bliss state, and then you hear the words, and I'll randomly pick them as well as I do when I listen to my book now. So my talk was going to be on love, and then that conversation with God, I just randomly clicked chapter 10, and it perfect. It was the first one. So it's like a tarot or Russian roulette. I just go into, because it's truth, you catch it any time, and it's almost like there's another sign for you. So a big shout out to everyone. Really appreciate the support. Appreciate your comments as always. If you are watching it, please do share your comments. If you yet to experience a meditation, that is God. That is completely within you, and everything that you do within that, you become the creator. So enjoy, people. Thank you again, and I will connect with you all very